Playdate. This is Don.
This is Nick.
And I'm Ryan.
This week we are covering Playdate news,
Indie Games of the Week,
and Season 1, Week 8 releases.
Thank you for listening. Let's get started.
With the doop news and notes.
News and notes.
Guys, I have some news.
Breaking news. Yes.
Yeah. I'm so happy to be back here talking with you all.
Welcome back.
Sorry that my international life of mystery interceded last week, but it's good to be back on the Playdate microphone here. So,
amen. That is
happy
definitely
to have you.
News and noteworthy.
So what else is going on in the world of Playdate?
Well, now you can stake your claim. If you have a Playdate device, you can stake your claim on your Playdate gamer tag.
Mm-hmm.
No more 20-digit gamer tag phone numbers
Thank you,
on the
Panic.
leaderboards. We'll have a link in the show notes, the official tweet from Panic, but you can choose your username. I think it has to be at least 3 digits, and there is a cutoff for how long it can be. 20, I think. I don't know. It's relatively long, yes. Yeah. But so I'm Call Me Steam. Nick, you are
Bingo Podcast,
and Ryan
Clater is Ryan Clater.
Very creative.
So here, I have a question for you guys about this.
Yes.
On the leaderboards, you can basically only see the top 10, right? Like, is there any way to access more than that?
It depends on the game.
Yeah, it depends on the game. Which
games can you see more than 10? Because Whitewater Wipeout and Hypermeteor, you can only see 10.
Well, Hypermeteor, you can see your own listing and then the top 10. And Whitewater's a little different, right?
Whitewater Wipeout is the same way. You can see your own listing if it's below the top 10, but you can only see top 10 displayed.
It would just be up to how the dev implemented it. So maybe there aren't examples currently, but there might be in the future.
I feel like there was one with different leaderboards. I know that there's a game coming up that has different leaderboards for each mode, and I think there's a couple.
Well, if there's a game that does that for less than for more than top 10, top 100, 1,000, whatever, let me know, because those are the games I need to start playing.
I don't know that I've seen any indies do it, and the indies are the ones where I'd be interested to see. Well, I mean, all games I'd be interested to see, but
I'm edging closer in Hypermeteor. I got up to 23 this past week.
Wow, that's amazing.
I surpassed the 5,000 mark, and man, I am really loving that game. I completely understand Nicholas and his infatuation with that game. It might even mulligan up a little higher in my rankings if we're starting to move things around. I find myself playing that a lot. Anyway, we'll save that for later.
Happy to hear that. Yeah. Well, if we're missing an example and you know of one, listeners, please contact us. Our socials will be in the show notes. Contact us and let us know where we are dropping the ball.
Please.
But speaking of our socials, Ryan Clator of the Helloplaydatepodcast is a professional artist, and his Playdate art is now on our socials, on our podcast page, playdatepodcast.com, and our Twitter page, HelloPD Podcast. So thank you, Ryan, for lending your Whitewater Wipeout and Casual Birder inspired Playdate art.
Totally. Yeah.
Yes.
That was a lot of fun to work on. It was just a little mirror doodle that I did. And I'm happy that you guys are interested enough in it to use it for some podcast art. So I hope other people enjoy it too.
Well, it's much better than the Skyrim bug art we had. Just filling the page before.
Yeah.
Anyway, we really appreciate that. Yeah, we always do, but it's on topic. I like that.
Yeah.
Need more Playdate fan art.
Indeed. I can't be the only one out there.
No. Speaking of Playdate fans and fan art, possibly Axolotl. Am I saying that right? Also known as Squid Dev God.
Wait, what? Are they the same people?
That's the same person.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure. Am I not sure? I think that's the same person. Anyway, that person, one of those people, possibly the same person, is hosting a Playdate game jam called Play Jam on itch.io this weekend. So we will have a link in the show notes. It's it's all next week, from June 25th to July 1st. So you can join. Devs are welcome to join. There's a whole page basically on itch. So it starts in 3 days. So you go on, you can basically have a week to make a game, and there will be winners. Top 5 games will be played on stream, and you'll get a role in his Discord server, which is a neat prize. But also you get a lot of eyes on there. So I've never watched a game jam. Have you guys ever watched one?
I'm familiar with them and I've seen the results, but I've never watched one or participated in one. But this this really piques my interest, and if I was in a better place with the current game I'm working on, I definitely would work on that. Looks fun.
Yeah. I'm barely familiar with game jams, but yeah, it sounds super cool. I have a little bit of work done on a game, and it's somewhat tempting to hop on there and just be a part of the community, but dad life, man. Very little time.
Cancel that dad life and get to work, Ryan. You got a whole week.
Yeah. Another 10 years or so. I'll be back in the game jam.
Play Jam 10.
There you go.
You heard it here first. So 27 devs have joined already, which is really cool. And
that's great.
I was reading today that my number one game so far of the season, Pick Pack Pup, started in a game jam.
Huh.
Mm-hmm.
So cool. a lot of games, a lot of Playdate games started in game jams a few years back. So a lot of fruitful stuff can happen in these things. So very cool. Excited to see what comes up here. So.
Definitely.
Keep an eye there. Yes.
Speaking of new games, Don, you want to talk to us about this one?
Yeah, this is a little teaser. My indie game of the week next week is a game called Shift, but it's a game called Shift by Scenic Route Software, and he's having a hard time getting it to come up on the Playdate tag on itch.io, or even if you search Shift Playdate or Shift game on itch. So I'm going to have a direct link to the game in the show notes. Check it out. It's $5. It's a really, really great puzzle game. So this is a exclusive invite until he can get itch to fix the links or whatever needs to be fixed, and he is working to get it fixed. Hop on, and this will be like sort of a game club, I guess. You can play it, and then when we talk about it next week, you'll be on the inside track. You'll be excited about it. So
very cool.
Yeah, that's great.
Little preview there. And I also wanted to hop back just a little bit about this whole game jam thing. So possibly Axolotl is an entirely different Twitter account than Squid God Dev.
Oh no!
So okay. I have a hunch they are different people, but maybe they are swimming in the same fishbowl. I don't know, but
okay.
I'm pretty sure they're different folks. So I wanted to do a quick follow-up.
Okay, maybe I got my wires crossed. I apologize. Too many invertebrates. Well, do axolotls have vertebrae? They probably do, right?
They probably do. They look sort of newtish. Newts
they look solid.
Vertebrae, right? Yeah.
Possibly.
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 Column.
Yeah.
I see what you did there. Okay, moving right along.
What's this next one, Ryan?
So we got another Tochi 2 teaser from SN Studio, and I am very excited about this. Longtime listeners will know that I played Tochi a while back, and it was my indie pick of the week early on. And ever since then, SN Studio has been teasing, and each tease looks very interesting and fun. New game mechanics are being revealed, and man, I'm ready for it. In theory, it should be coming up here before too awfully long. They have not set a definite release date, but I have heard the things, and the things say soonish. So I'm excited. Yeah. Have you guys ever, either of you, did you hop on Tochi after my review?
It's high up the to play list for me.
Well,
Get out of here. Done.
I didn't finish it. I wanted to get
Okay.
back and finish it. I thought about doing it
Okay.
today. I just didn't get to it. But
Okay.
yes, I
Well,
vow
it's the
to
thought that counts.
the world that I will finish it soon.
Okay.
Yes, I did enjoy what I played.
I
I
told
watched
you.
I watched the GIF that they posted. It does look fun.
Yeah, totally. Well, like I said, I speed ran the thing in under 10 minutes, so I know you can do it.
Yes.
Okay. Another follow-up from me. Nicholas, a couple episodes ago, mentioned a joke worth 99 cents. And I have since purchased this for $1. As Don said, the minimum purchase on itch is $1. So funny that it bucks its own title. Even though it is discounted to 99 cents, it still makes you pay $1. But I bought this thing, and oh my land, it is so challenging. But I did manage to complete it, and I can't wait for both of you to do the same. Both of you have this game, right?
Oh yeah.
First game I bought on the Playdate.
Nice.
It was,
Nick, I'm assuming you've downloaded and not played it?
I've actually played it and
Hey!
not completed it. Yeah.
Okay. Do you mind if I... is this too spoilery? I know
Yeah, don't spoil
I'm the
it.
spoiler man, but would
Don't
you guys...
spoil it. Don't spoil it. Lots of people
I will
want,
not. I will
lots of
not.
people want to experience
Alright.
this game when they get their
However, I do have a question for you guys
Playdate. All right.
that might be in minor spoiler territory, and that is, at what point in the joke have you gotten to?
Oh, that is hard to quantify because I haven't played it since the first week of ownership, so I don't remember.
Maybe like 20 lines in.
Yeah, something like that for me too.
So you don't remember like who's saying what at that particular time?
Not at all.
No, I don't remember.
Okay. All right. Get out of here then. All right.
sorry.
And the last news and note is everybody gets to enjoy a podcast without me next week because I am on
I don't know
a
if that's enjoyable, right?
I'm going to be on a family vacation and not broadcasting from that family vacation. So I will miss you guys next week, but I know you'll put on a great show, and I cannot wait to hear either Dawn or Nick do all the bumpers like this. Doop 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 doop. Indie games of the week. Who's first?
Bumper free, you and me.
No, I'm going to be so disappointed in you guys if nobody bumpers it up. You need to bumper.
Done. I'll isolate and cut out Ryan's.
Okay. We'll bring back the audible sigh. We can do that one.
Yeah.
Well, enjoy your week. We will miss you.
We will.
Ryan tried very hard to get us to record back-to-back episodes this week, but we didn't feel like we didn't care enough.
We wanted to do justice to the week 9 games. And,
Totally.
Week 9 games are very strong.
Yeah. Understood. I was I hopped on one of them today and played it for quite some time, and it definitely deserves it's just due. It's at least week of play. Mm-hmm. So I'll do the Nick and toss you guys some thoughts for next week, and
cool.
Look forward to listening to your thoughts as well.
Yeah, we'd appreciate that.
Yeah.
Speaking of your thoughts, though, Ryan, while you're here, would you like to give us your thoughts on the indie game of the week?
Okay. My indie game of the week is called Bíotópico, and this is from Everyday Lemonade. You can find this on itch, and it is a free game to download, and it's not so much a game as it is a relaxation, meditation, breathing app that also plants trees on your behalf. It's really cool. I think I find myself when I'm going through a game these days, I want like a quick fix, and I want a little action, and then I need to get out and go do dad stuff. But this was a wildly different experience. It does not try to be anything else. It does not try to be a game. It does not try to be, epic fantasy, something or another. It's just a breathing app, and it's very simple. And I've seen it do a couple of different things. One is simply like a pulsating circle that you breathe in and you breathe out according to the pace of this pulsating circle. And it encourages you to do things like keep your shoulders and your chest as still as possible and breathe into your stomach, which, breathing into your center. And also, if you take the time to read through their itch page, they also talk about how if you complete a particular number of exercises, then for each number of exercises, I think it's 60 breaths, 60, then they will plant a tree on your behalf. And they go through this whole dialogue linking your breath with, oxygen output of trees and carbon dioxide output of humans and linking together and all that. I think it's a little, the connection is a little bit tenuous, but I do very much like the fact that they are planting trees in the name of this game and trying to offset the carbon footprint that creating this game made, that we're all living under in these technical times. I just thought this was a very cool project that I wanted to highlight. There was so there's some music along with this game, and I think my favorite music is actually the title music. It sort of reminds me of Whitewater Wipeout in that way, where there's this like killer title tune, and then there's a number of different tunes that you can select when you are in the meditation breathing app itself. But I really wish they would include that title music in that breathing app, because I think it's probably my favorite. So that's my pitch for Bíotópico. I believe it is done by some folks in Brazil, if I'm not mistaken. I need to go back and check their itch page to be certain. But anyway, that's my pick of the week. What do you guys think?
It reminds me a lot of Wii Fit, I think. Isn't that right, Don? Is that the one that had the breathing exercises?
That kind of rings a bell. I don't recall.
Yeah, one of the Wii Fit games, maybe it was Wii Fit U, I don't recall. But at any rate, one of them had a breathing exercise where there would be a circle on screen and you'd have to kind of match your movements and stillness with that. It wasn't actually sensing your breath, although I'm assuming that the Playdate can, since it has a microphone. So, interesting.
And these guys are from California, by the way.
Oh, okay. Thank you for checking into that.
Have you played this one, Nick? Have you tried it? This Tool?
I have not.
This was almost my game of the week a few weeks ago, but they haven't. I feel like it's in early access, sort of. Like there's a lot of features, some of them that are pictured on the itch page that are not actually in the game yet. So I was kind of waiting.
So you have to read through a bunch of words, and eventually they start talking about how they need to keep the older version up for some sort of a contest. But if you would like the updated version, you can download it, at a link they give you on that same page. And it's highlighted a few times as you go down the page, but maybe there's even more features they're planning in future updates. I don't know. But anyway, I downloaded the newest version they had at the time. I think I downloaded it maybe a week ago at this point. Maybe not quite a week ago. Anyway, I did see some elements in the version that I downloaded that were not in the screenshots that they were showing on their itch page. And I actually thought they were improvements. So maybe they have additional improvements still coming down the pipeline.
Did you grow a tree yet?
I did grow a tree. Yes.
Nice.
So now I feel a tiny bit better about myself.
I grew one a few weeks back. It's like sometimes it'll say like 12 breaths or 8 breaths. So you think you're getting that many units, but it'll only give you like 1 unit or 4 units or something. So that was a little confusing. And I didn't ever use the audio. I mostly played it at night, like relaxing, trying to get to sleep. But I like the way that they integrated the button presses and the crank in different exercises. And a lot of them you could pretty much do with your eyes closed, even while you're cranking and whatnot, because you kind of just get into a rhythm. Some of them I kind of wish were longer. I think the longest was 12 breaths, which is pretty quick, maybe like 30 seconds it takes you to do 12 breaths, or maybe a minute even. But I would want to kind of breathe longer and relax longer. But there is sort of going to be like a farming simulator, light farming simulator added to the app at some point. Right now, when you hit plant a tree, it basically just populates a QR code that you scan, and that you send that to the devs, and they plant a tree with that. So there's no actual like planting mini game or anything, but it sounds like that's something they're adding at some point.
Oh, interesting. Man, you must have read more words than I did. Nice job.
Oh, I don't know, but that was my experience with it. I haven't played it in a couple weeks probably, but for a while that's what I was doing each night. I would do my bloom, get my gotcha thing, and then
Nice.
I would hop on this. Yeah.
How is that going for you, by the way?
I'm still poking at it maybe like 3 times a week. So I'm more than half of my gotchas are full. But my next rent payment is over $1 million. So
million yen.
There. 1 million yen, sorry. Still chipping away at it. But yeah, this they cannot update Bíotópico until June 26th. That's when this mental health game jam thing is over. So.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, yeah, I'd recommend it. It really sort of jarred me out of my go existence. And Dawn, you're a better person than I am, because I tried out 4 breaths, 8 breaths, and 12 breaths. And at 12, I was like, "Ooh, boy, that's a lot of breathing. Let's go do something else."
It's relaxing, man.
Totally, it is. And I need to be able to sustain that state for longer periods. So I think it would be a cool addition to have higher, like maybe even like achievement systems. Like, hey, you've done 12 breaths for 5 times. Now you access 18 breaths or 24 breaths or whatever. It'd be a cool achievement system, I think.
I think there are mobile apps like that, but I would like to see more of that kind of stuff on the Playdate. Yeah. I think in games, for me anyway, that kind of thing keeps me coming back.
Same.
That carrot on the stick kind of thing. Dopamine hit.
Yeah. Yep. Agreed.
Cool.
Well, Nick, what are you playing this week as far as indie games?
Well, interesting. You should ask, Ryan. I've been playing a $2 pulp game called Bub-O Collect, and it's made by a developer called Gabe Swarr. Gabe Swarr is actually an animation producer / cartoonist, according to their site, and they did work on cartoons like Animaniacs. So Bub-O Collect is a fairly straightforward arcade puzzler. You are a character who can generate and shoot bubbles out of their nose or mouth or whatever appendage it is. And it's the goal of the game is to collect these flowers by running over them with this bubble, and you have to collect all the flowers in a given stage and then exit the stage. You move the character with the D-pad. The crank in later stages will rotate different obstacles, and some of them are pretty tricky, especially in later stages, but it's never impossibly difficult or anything. It's pretty well laid out, and it does a good job of teaching you the mechanics as you go. So the first stage is really simple, and then it ramps up towards the end. There's only 15 stages, so it's pretty easy to sit down in a short session and run through the whole game. It is there are a couple things that I would improve, and one is the way the character moves is kind of funky. The character is they're essentially 2 character widths when they've got a bubble attached to their face, and moving up and down, you have to kind of get used to it. So I would encourage you in the first stage or 2, while you have room to kind of play around, to figure out exactly how the character moves while it's got the bubble on its face, because it's probably different than you think it will be.
That visual might be difficult to describe, but I'm on the itch page right now, and seeing it makes total sense. So we'll have links to this in the show notes, of course, but
Yeah.
it looks like a really interesting puzzle game. I've not known of this until you brought it up, but I'm sure glad you did.
Yeah. It's a fun little quick hit kind of action puzzler. So
You kind of move like a Dr. Mario capsule or pill, you know?
Yeah, sort of.
Yeah. Around corners and stuff, it gets a little tricky.
It does, especially in the later stages where it's like all mines or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, but it's a cute and fun little game. Have you played this, Don?
Yeah, I played. I don't think I finished it, but I played through a lot of it. I guess I wasn't focused on the 15 stages thing. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was kind of odd looking. I couldn't wrap my head around the screenshots, kind of like what Ryan was saying. So that made me want to play it.
Mm-hmm.
And because I really like the logo kind of caught my attention. I like fonts a lot and whatnot.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's really fun. It's a cute little game. And as awkward as he walks, it wasn't punishing. Like I thought, I'd be bumping my butt into spikes or something and dying constantly. Yeah. And it isn't that kind of. It's not that kind of thing. It was more forgiving than I expected. So yeah, it's definitely worth a look.
And there's cute little animation interstitials between stages and so forth. So even if you die, so it's I think worth a look. Ryan, you'll have to give this a shot. Let us know what you think.
Totally. Yeah, I always love finding out about new games through you guys. It's helped a lot already. I was going to ask you, Nick, you said it was sort of a quick completion through those 15 levels. How long would you say it took you to complete the game?
Somewhere in the realm of 15 or 20 minutes.
Don, would you say the same? Would you say you played less than 15 or 20 minutes to not complete the game?
Yeah, I must have been close. I probably played about 15 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah. I find myself playing right before bed, and then when I start getting tired,
I have that problem too.
Yeah.
Dad life, baby.
Mm-hmm.
So, cool. Don, what have you been playing as your indie game of the week?
Well, speaking of 20-minute games,
yeah,
I played the S. Sterling Company.
I was looking at this earlier today. Tell me all about it.
So I just thought it was a weird title. And again, I liked the font, and the weird title caught my attention. And so I just gave it a shot. And this is $1.50. It's an itch game. Welcome to the office at the S. Sterling Company. We have 3 rambunctious cats living here, and they all like to have adventures. So you start the game, and it gives you 3 names of cats, and each one gives you a different adventure. So you choose the cat you want, and each one is kind of a different type of game. So Charlie is trying to get outside, if I remember right. So you have to go around the office getting different treats and see who will let you out. And there's kind of like little puzzles, like not all of the treats are obvious to find. It's almost like WarioWare type of things. Like, well, no, WarioWare is a little too. Those are micro games, but there are little mini games you have to do, very, very short, to find certain treats. But then you get the 10 treats and they let you outside and you win. So Charlie wins his thing. Annie, if I remember right, you're supposed to find like 3 numbers for a lock, and then you can leave the warehouse.
Annie loves food, and I mean loves food.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember something. Another thing has to do with treats or something. But basically, you're walking around a warehouse as a little tiny cat, trying to find. They give you kind of cryptic clues, not super hard or anything. But then you find different numbers, and you put the numbers into a combination lock, and you get whatever back into the office or something. And then Foster ends up in the ductwork. So you see this kind of maze looking thing. You're up in the duct, and you're killing insects up there and trying to feed them to the Lizard King, if I remember right.
That must be the second screenshot on the itch page. Mm-hmm. Oh, that makes a lot of sense. That's cool.
So, and there's a lot of mazes in there. It's not just that one screen. There's it continues for several different screens. So I thought that one was going to be tedious, but it was actually pretty fun, and it wasn't too hard to get through there. I didn't really get lost or anything. but it was a pretty different gameplay, especially that section was a pretty different gameplay compared to the other two. And it didn't take very long to get through, and it was very obvious that whoever made the game did it with their coworkers. These were cats in their office. It was obvious that the people in the office in the game were people that the dev worked with. So that's who I emailed today. I was like, hey, like, what's a little backstory here? The Lord Angus, I think, was the name of the dev. And he said, yeah, these are people I worked with. They gave me ideas for the game, and these are cats that are in our office. So this is his first game. But it was fun. It's just another one of these little Playdate games that obviously I think it was made in pulp, and it was just a cute, quick little game that was pretty fun and a fun idea. Like, how many games have you played that just take place in somebody's office that they just put together? It's like a little slice of life thing where sometimes it's fun to read a blog about somebody's day, in their office, somebody that works in a dental office, let's say, or whatever. You have no context for it, but it's fun to read. Same kind of thing here. This was just kind of a fun little game, and real cute. No problems, no issues, no bugs besides the one you're supposed to find and kill. Yeah, it was real enjoyable. So
nice.
Had a good time with it.
I like the fact that Don chooses games based on fonts. You're a wise man, Don.
I love fonts. It's eye-catching. If you have a bad font, I just keep scrolling. I don't know.
Hey, yeah, I tell my comic students the easiest way to up your game when you're working on comics is to letter well, because if your lettering is bad, then the whole thing looks bad. So, yeah, it's true.
Good advice.
So,
yeah.
Yep. Cool.
I don't know. I thought, I would have. This is a good adventure. Give it to your kids. They could probably make it through this adventure and feel like they accomplished something too. So it was fun. Good way to end the day before bed.
Right on. Cool. Well, sounds like we are ready for season games of the week.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yep.
First up, you guys want to talk about Sled?
Let's
do it.
Indeed.
So the synopsis here: steer your lightning fast Star Sled through multiple missions designed to test reflexes of even the most dedicated space pilots. So the idea here is you basically have a lasso behind your little starship. It plays similar to Hypermeteor, I guess, that we talked about a couple weeks ago, but you're wrapping your lasso around stuff, and it kind of looks like an old arcade game from the 80s, 70s, and 80s with vector graphics. And yeah, you boost around and kill stuff. And this was designed by Greg Maletic. I hope I didn't butcher his name. With music by Factory Default. And I wanted to point out that they have done music for I almost spoiled a game that's coming up later this season, but they do another Playdate game. They've done a few different game soundtracks. I'll put it that way. Ooh.
Spoilers.
A different week I'll mention that they did this soundtrack. But this is a Panic game. Greg works for Panic.
Oh,
and he's also the guy that did Tilt, the Battle to Save Pinball, the pinball documentary.
Oh, that's neat.
A while back. So, what did you guys think about Star Sled?
Take it away, Nick.
Yeah. So the graphics for this game remind me of a vector game called Rip-Off. Have either of you played that?
No.
I have a lot of things that I like to compare this game to, and it's something which I was not familiar with until I spent some time with Brent from the Broken Token Arcade podcast. But he had an example of this and showed it to me, and it's this fantastic 2-player game where you're guarding this pile of vector trash, and things are coming and they're trying to steal the trash from this pile. There's a couple of games like the Virtual Boy Waterworld is essentially a three-dimensional version of
this
that.
Is an obvious homage to Waterworld.
To Waterworld for the Virtual Boy, yes.
Yes.
Everyone anyways,
can see that, Nick. Yes.
Good. I'm glad.
Kevin Costner likeness and all.
Mm-hmm. So this obviously doesn't share much in the way of gameplay with Rip-Off or Waterworld, Don, but the graphics do remind me of them, especially the little stars that you're trying to collect remind me of the little vector trash that you're guarding in Rip-Off. The trail that you're leaving behind as a jet in space is interesting, and it reminds me of there was some Pokemon game where you're essentially encircling things. It was Pokemon Ranger, I think. Um, Never played that, but
Hmm.
the same mechanic was present there. So as far as the gameplay goes, the crank is not. It doesn't work in the same way as it does in Hyper Meteor, meaning, or at least it doesn't feel that way to me. The control feels a little looser and a little more frustrating, I'll say. I had a really hard time getting very far in this game. So maybe you all had a different experience, but there's a screenshot on the page, and it's the second boss, and you're essentially going into each little uh, fifth of this giant space station thing and encircling a little star in there. And while you're in there, there's a little um, electrical fence which pops up every few seconds and then pops down. You're supposed to jet out of there. That probably took me like a good many tries. I hesitate to even speculate, but it was a lot before I finished that stage. And I knew exactly what I had to do, and it was telling my brain was telling my hands to do it, but it sure wasn't. Over and over, and I found myself running directly into the things that you're supposed to encircle all the time. Probably 1/2 to 3/4 of the deaths that I had in the game were me just smacking straight into the stars that you're trying to encircle.
Yeah.
So
Glad it wasn't just me.
I had a really hard time just controlling the game, but I thought the concept was fun, and I loved the fact that the mechanics continued to get more and more challenging and interesting as you went. So I made it about halfway through the third set of stages, and almost every stage there's some new challenge or twist on what you already know. And I really love games that introduce mechanics in that way. And so that part I really enjoy. I really like the graphics, but I will say that the control makes this game a little too challenging for Nick. So, how about you all, Ryan?
I have very similar thoughts, and I think I got to probably an identical place that you did, about halfway through C, which looks like it's probably about halfway through the game. One thing Nick did not mention is that there are hidden levels that you can unlock if you see I forget what they label it, but it's like a very faintly twinkling star rather than the main twinkling stars you're trying to encircle most of the time. And I made it to one or two of those hidden levels, which I thought was kind of neat, that you can sort of unlock some out of main continuity levels. So that was neat too. But I feel very similarly in the control aspect of the game. It's different from Hyper Meteor in that Hyper Meteor's screen is fixed. You're not going anywhere. Like everything is on the screen. But one of the challenging things I found about this game is that you're making your way toward these stars that you're supposed to encircle, and they're off the screen. And yes, there are little tells, there's little arrows that say, hey, a star is approaching from right here on the screen. But I found myself, like, when I got there, there was so little time to, like, oh gosh, I need to swerve around that in order to circle it. Just like Nick, I would bash into it half the time. So it really took some learning in that respect. I wish I had a little more, not peripheral vision, but forefrontal vision in this game to where I was going. I feel like that would have been helpful, but I don't know how to remedy that without a larger screen, because they can't make the graphics any smaller, because in my opinion, they're already using very tiny graphics, like single pixel details on these elements. The ship itself and the stars are not single pixels, but there's a lot of very tiny details. So if they shrunk it down anymore, I think it would be quasi illegible. So I don't know what to do about that. I think the other main thing working against this game, even though I had a lot of fun with this game, is the fact that Hypermeteor was released 2 weeks before. Like, there's no way around comparing this game, Star Sled, to Hypermeteor. And we've had a good couple weeks of, I've had a good couple weeks of getting way into Hypermeteor. And so for me, this is kind of a tough one because it draws such a close parallel. I don't know. What did you think, Don?
That's one thing. I maybe swap this with Crankin or swap this with Boogie Loops as far as spreading them out in the season so that they're not so close. They're not too apart from Hypermeteor. Really, the season has been so diverse, and these two games, while they're different, they're 2 weeks apart. So yeah, it's impossible not to draw a comparison. I love the look of the game. I love the vector graphics. I like this sort of shimmery, silvery look to it. It's weird. It has this weird look that I really like. It really makes it stand out. The stars are so small, and even the lariat and the ship itself, everything just has this shimmery graphical design that just looks really neat and really distinct. That I really like that. And of course, I like games of this era or the era that it's trying to sort of emulate or pay homage to. So I like that. That said, I'm terrible at it. I tried. I've had the game for 2 weeks. I'm a week ahead of these guys, and I just suck at it. I've tried over and over and over. If there's some sort of mode where it's just ramming into stuff, then I would be master of that mode. Because there's so much empty space.
Yeah.
And you're really just circling around it. And no matter how much empty space there is, I ram into it. I play a lot of driving games. Yeah. And if I see one tree in a field way down the road, I'm going to hit that tree. And it's like, I have to really mentally look away from the tree to not make my car run into it. Maybe that's what I have to do with this game. Just like stare into the blackest space and just ignore anything around me so I don't run into it. I am just so bad at it. I could not get past the B section. I tried over and over and over. I'm just stuck in there, and I would just get frustrated at a certain point and just turn it off, and the next day come back. I tried over and over. I could not get past B.
Did you make it to the boss of B?
No, I'm in like B3, I think, or yeah, the third stage where, like a little guy starts coming after you.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I didn't really feel even threatened by him. I was just, whatever. I'm just going to ignore him and just try to collect one thing at a time or do whatever I want. Just have fun. And I never really felt like, oh no, he's right on my tail or anything. I just was still running into stuff all the time. And then like there's the boost button, but I'm like, that's not helping me. Like I don't, the speed felt fine. I didn't feel like I was going too slow. I don't know. I just could not hang.
I felt
my
like
brain just is too old or something. I don't know.
I felt like the boost on the level or two after it's introduced is not particularly helpful, but on future levels, it is. It does become helpful.
That's what I assumed.
So it's like it sort of introduces it to you to get you used to it, and then you're like, I'm not using that, but at least you know what it is. But then it becomes strategically important a little bit later.
I assumed at some point you'd be chasing stuff down across the galaxy kind of thing. So you'd really need to haul over there and get to something.
Do you want spoilers, Don?
I don't care for this type of game. I assumed it would be important later and I just never got to it. Yeah, but Nick,
I was going to say, I guess we can leave it at that, but I do have a question for you guys after you're done.
Okay. Don. What other games have used this kind of mechanic? Is there a mode in Geometry Wars that's similar to this? I know I've played games with the same kind of mechanic.
Yeah, the only example I could think of off the top of my head was that Pokemon Ranger, which is such a weird pull.
Right, I have not played that one.
I haven't either.
I know that I've played this and I can't think of what it is.
Yeah.
Maybe a mobile game or something. I don't know.
Maybe.
We're getting short on time, but Ryan, what other comment did you have?
I do have a question for you guys, and it's a little more Playdate general, but this game brings it up, is I'm curious how you guys manipulate the crank. So the crank has this little yellow tab on the end of it, which you can grasp with your forefinger and thumb and turn it around in a very proper way. But I find myself on games like this where crank fidelity is super important that I start like grasping the shaft of the crank like a little closer to the axle itself so that I can manipulate it in much smaller increments. So I guess my question is, how are you guys working the crank? Is it by the yellow tab? Is it in some different way?
So for me, it's usually by the yellow tab, but sometimes I'll actually pull the shaft of the crank straight and then rotate it directly.
What?
Yeah, yeah. That gives you a really fine level of control.
Nick's in the year 3000 over here.
But I will say for this game, it didn't matter how I attempted. And another thought that occurred to me that I meant to bring up is that I feel like this might be one of those Playdate games that is actually hampered by crank control rather than D-pad control.
What do you mean?
I feel like it might control better traditionally than with the crank.
What? I mean, then how could you move in a radial fashion? You'd only be able to move
With
up, down, left, right.
Yeah, like you'd be good because you could steer like think
left
about
and right.
asteroids left and right.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Accelerate with B or A, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know about that one.
You got crank blindness going on, Ryan.
I might, but man, I'm in a different camp than you on this one, my friend.
That's all right.
I strictly navigate with the tab, by the way.
Oh, okay.
I never touched the shaft thing.
You should give it a try, Don. I find it to be...
I don't want that patina. Have you heard about the patina stories?
No. Let's hear it.
The oils from your hands leave a patina on the
residue.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to happen regardless, though.
I know.
Right? Yeah.
No, but I don't. I just naturally don't.
Hmm.
I actually don't like the crank being in the way. So on shift, I'm constantly knocking it out of the way. But on shift, well, we'll get to it more next week. But on shift, that's a special move, is hitting the crank, and it depletes your energy by hitting the crank. So I'll hit it to get it out of my way, but then it'll deplete my energy. I'm like, oh, damn it. I got to get used to not touching it. Anyway.
Cool. All right. Short on time. What do we have
let's
next?
score this thing.
Oh, right.
Slow down. God.
I swear 1 week I tried to put in a ranking and you're like, whoa, no, slow down there. And we had to wait until the very end before putting this in. So I always feel like, oh man, we got to get these rankings done.
Is it next week yet?
Oh boy.
All right, Don, let's have you start it off here. Where are you putting Star Sled?
I got number 12 right under Whitewater Wipeout. Oh, also, we added a Discord channel that is just our season 1 lists. Mm-hmm. It's all spoiler cut, by the way, but if you hop on the Discord, you can see our lists, all three of us, with spoiler tags. So,
and I've added it to our podcast website, but that does not have spoiler tags. So just heads up.
Don's about to quit.
So I placed this at number 11, which is right above Whitewater Wipeout.
All right.
Ryan?
And I put it up a little higher than that. I put it pretty much in the middle of the pack. Number 8, under Flipper Lifter, above Questy Chest. So it looks like I enjoyed this game the most out of any of us, which I like this game. It is real challenging, but I like this game a lot. Yeah.
I think we all liked it. It's just you're the pro gamer.
Yeah. You're the one with the rank on the leaderboard.
That nobody can see but me.
Like 25,000 or whatever.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, man.
Next game, Saturday Edition. Made by Wild Rose. Saturday Edition tells the story of John Cornfield, a security technician who made headlines in 1976 with his account of alien abduction. 10 years later, Cornfield once again finds himself the subject of public interest when a string of public disappearances coincide with sightings of mysterious lights in the night sky. This is a point-and-click adventure.
Yeah.
Pretty much everything done by Chris Macris, or something like that. Sorry about pronunciations, etc. With sound design done by A Shell in the Pit. who's done sound design on several Playdate games. I guess I won't say them in case there's spoilers. Like I almost spoiled the last one. But this is very solidly a Nick game. Nick is a point and click fanatic. So,
Yes.
Nick, kick us off.
All right.
Saturday edition.
Welcome to Saturday. I've got a lot to say, but I'll try and encapsulate it. First of all, the sound design of this game might be the best I've heard on the Playdate. There is so much going on with the sound, and it is so different than the other games in the season so far. Loved it. And I played this one full blast, just blowing my hair back. It was great. The other thing that's really interesting about this game are the animations. There's a ton of very minute animation that happens at various points in the game. And I was really impressed. You start off in your apartment, and one of the things that you can interact with is the TV. And I don't know if you all were paying attention to those animations, but it's you can switch between the different channels, and there's a person's finger that shows up in the little window that appears as it's interacting.
I didn't notice that.
It's really cute, and the sound design is incredible. The way all those are synchronized is extremely impressive. So this, as Don said, is a straight up point and click adventure game. It's in the LucasArts style. So if you're familiar, if you're not familiar, rather, those are the games where you have a variety of actions that you can take. You can interact with different elements on different screens, but there are no deaths. There's no character death. And that makes it so that you don't have to constantly save your game and reload. The opposite of that would be the Sierra style. And I'm sure you'll hear more about that later on. But for this game, it's LucasArts style, which makes it a little more player friendly. It's got some modern nods as well, in that every interactable object is called out in a little window. And that makes it really friendly because everything that you can touch, even if you don't think you can touch it, will just show up in a little square, and that's how you know. But let's talk a little bit about the graphics. Some of the detail, this game is extremely detailed with its graphical assets, and some of those details are very minute. So I found that I had to play this in a very bright area just so that I could pay attention to the entire room that you're in. Some of the rooms, in adventure game parlance, are more than one screen wide, so you have to travel over and up and around and down. I thought that was cool, but not exactly necessary. And your character moves at a very glacial pace. Nothing really seems to concern your character. So, that was probably
he's in a trench coat. I mean,
yeah,
you got to be disaffected, right?
I mean, maybe. So that was a little jarring in that I found myself. Well, I'll get into that in a second. But the other piece is that there are loading screens. There's loading time in between each room that you go to. So you really have to set aside some time to get into this game and to play it. The plot is interesting. I found the central mystery pretty cool, which is what's going on with all these alien abductions. You know, what happened to you? Is it happening all over again? I will say that I was not satisfied with the conclusion, but I'll leave the rest out spoiler wise. And getting back to the element that I was going to say, I found there were a couple of instances where it was extremely unclear what you need to do. As Don mentioned, I love point and click adventure games, and I play a lot of them. And finding dead ends is something that I'm really good at. I find myself hitting dead ends frequently in point and click adventure games. And in this case, there aren't exactly dead ends in the style where you have to restart the game or anything, but there are situations where you have to talk to one character before the thing can progress, and the game is not, it does not telegraph that well. So while it telegraphs all the interactable elements, there might be a character that you need to show a particular item to, or just talk to outside of showing items. So most of the time when I got stuck, it was because I ran up to a character and said, "Hey, look at this thing that's in my inventory." But that was important, but I also needed to just straight up talk to them. So I would wander through the entire map slowly, plod through my apartment, check my answering machine messages, and then go back to whoever that character was, talk to them and go, "Oh, this is dialogue I haven't seen." And then the game would advance. But so that's in a nutshell my experience with the game. What did you think, Don? Why don't we start with you?
I started taking notes, and the two things I wrote down were the animations are fantastic, and the little squares giving the perfect amount of information. So basically, the first two things you brought up hit with me as well. I do not like point and click adventure games. I find it super tedious.
Gasp.
Well, you mentioned a lot of tedious things. So at first, I liked that it was just matching one and two things, and then when you use a clue, it would crumple it into a ball. So I was like, oh, this will be chill. It's not like I'm carrying this toothbrush around forever, using it with 1,000 different things. But then, like, the crumples stay in your inventory, and the inventory keeps getting further and further along, like deeper and deeper and deeper. And then I was like, oh, then I'm kind of getting in the weeds here. And so at a certain point, I just resigned myself to, like, I'm not interested in this game. This isn't my kind of game, and that's fine. People love this game, and people love this type of game. And so I know this isn't for me. It doesn't make it a bad game. It's just not my kind of game. And it can still be a good example of a game that's not for me. And that's totally fine too. But then when I was researching the podcast, I found a walkthrough. So I was like, oh, I might as well walk through the game. And so I got through almost the whole thing. And then I hit a wall with Nick. We were trying to talk through it today. So I don't know. I got to basically the end of the game, or close to the end of the game, and I can't get any further. I don't know what I missed. But when I did that, I noticed that sometimes, like Nick was saying, the walkthrough is very much just like, go here, talk to this one guy, and go back. Where when you get to that location, there might be 10 different things you can do. So if I wasn't using a walkthrough, I might do those 10 different things and spend 20 minutes there, and then go 5 different places and do the same thing 5 different places, instead of just going there, spending 1 minute, and then going straight to the next place I need to go to. So this could be a very long experience.
It was a long one for me.
I probably played for 2 hours and got through almost the whole thing. I'm guessing you played much longer than that.
Yeah.
And the walkthrough, I'll put a link in the show notes. It doesn't have really spoiler stuff. I don't feel like it has spoiler stuff besides locations. But obviously it's missing something because I got stopped. Anyway, I know it's not for me. But what it is seems to be a good example of what it is. But Ryan, what do you think?
I feel like I have a little bit of both Nick and Don in me. I am similar to Nick in that I enjoy point and click adventures. I was a big Sierra kid. In fact, I'm playing through Space Quest 1 right now and loving it all over again. But I hate to say it, these games are not conducive to dad life. They require an inordinate amount of time. I have no idea how you've completed it, Nick, with the amount of time that it requires. I made it to the mall. I'm walking around there, but man, I feel like I had a healthy chunk into the game and probably just barely scratching the surface. If I were in my youth, I think I would enjoy this game a lot more because my time was far more free. I feel similar to that revisiting Sierra games that I know and love, and even now I feel like, okay, I gotta set this down after a few minutes. and had similar feelings with this, except for the fact that I don't know anything about it, and felt like there was a lot of exploring to do. So like, if I could rewind the clock, 30 some odd years and like have infinite time again, I think this would be a fantastic game for little Ryan. But as it stands, Dad Ryan is having a real tough time getting into this game. And in that way, I am probably toward the dawn end of the spectrum with regard to how this game is sitting with me.
I think material improvements that they could have made with this game to make it more friendly would be just increasing that movement speed. There are so many times when I felt like I was just waiting on the character to get to the interactive element that I knew was right there. Like, for example, if I'm trucking around town and I have to go back and talk to somebody that I've already talked to, you have to walk across 2 or 3 screens to talk to them. And it's beautiful. It's cool. I love the animation, but if it were faster, it would make the experience a lot smoother, especially with the loading times between rooms, which when you add them all up is a lot.
Developmentally,
getting upstairs. Oh, sorry.
Go for it, Don.
Well, getting upstairs to Margaret, you got to keep going up there. It's like you got to go over. You got to go in the mall, then over 2 stories, then upstairs, and then when you're done, you got to go back down and then back out to the car.
Down. Yeah.
I was going to say, developmentally, that's something the game developer could put in as an option, right? Like varying speeds of the character.
Yeah. And part of the reason why the movement speed might be the way that it is because of the detail in the backgrounds. If you moved faster, perhaps there'd be tearing, or there'd be loss of visual fidelity that would make it difficult to discern where your character is. So from a development perspective, I understand the reason the speed was chosen, but if it was an option, or if you could, there's a million different ways you could tackle that particular problem. And some of them might not be palatable when so much work and love has gone into creating the backgrounds. So I can understand, but it does make it challenging to get into, because you've got to devote some time.
Shall we rank this one, guys?
Yeah, sure. Oh, and Nick, you're talking about sound design. I literally was like, oh, the sound's not on. And I went to crank it up, and my sound was already all the way up. So I don't know. It's very subtle. Let's go ahead. Not bad, but subtle. Let's go ahead and rank it. Nick, you go ahead.
Okay. So this, I'm going to put, I believe. Ooh, this might be the toughest one for me to rank so far, because I love this game, but
you need a minute, Nick. I can see your cursor bouncing around.
I'm thinking about it, guys. So Ryan, why don't you go first, please?
Let me give you a little time then, because I have pre-ranked this. I put Saturday Edition at number 12 of 16 games that we have now, under Boogie Loops and above Lost Your Marbles.
Nice.
Don, what are you thinking about this one?
I've got it at 16, under Lost Your Marbles.
Okay,
and swinging back my way, I put this at number 5 under Pick Pack Pup and above Hyper Meteor.
Nice.
There was a lot of consternation on the part of Nick on this. This was really bouncing around from 1 to 2 to 1 to 3 to 4 to 2.
Is one of the hardest ones I've had to rank so far. And quite frankly, aside from my nitpicks about speed, the way it all comes together, the way the plot is laid out, is what pushes it so far down. So
cool. I thought the plot got more interesting as I was blowing through it. But, bummed to not know the ending. I'll have to ask you what's going on.
Sure.
So, all right. Well, let's wrap it up, guys. Thank you all for listening. You can check out the website, playdatepodcast.com, and check out the Twitter, Hello PD Podcast, and the rest of our socials are in the show notes. We will be back next week, except for Ryan, who will be back in 2 weeks, we hope. Thank you,
got that
so
right.
much.
Yeah. Much to Don's chagrin.
Whatever. We'll miss your beep 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 beeps.
Yeah.
Don't fail me, guys. Come on, bumper it up. I'll be listening.
I'll make some half-hearted beeps.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks everybody.
Thanks.
See you later.